This is 911. State your emergency. Hello? I can't help you if I don't know where you're at, honey. Where are you at? Where are you? I need as many units as I can get for Fairfield Road. Give me the numbers.
911, what's your emergency?
Hey friends, it's Fletch. I'm Vice President of Public Safety Solutions at 911 Inform. Welcome to this new podcast series, Off the Cuff, Confessions of an ENP. Brought to you by 911 Inform, delivering next-generation 911 services for the enterprise today and making every second count. In this series, we're going to be talking to ENPs that have been on the job for years, as well as those brand new ENPs that have just passed the test. We'll dig in and have an in-depth conversation and find out what the ENP certification means to them. We'll talk about why they did it, what it means for their career, and what they did to pass the exam. Industry certifications are important to industry professionals, and the ENP certification is one that's admired by many in public safety. So join me as we find out exactly what makes an ENP tick in this off-the-cuff podcast series, Confessions of an ENP. Whenever I do a new podcast, I always bring in my alter ego to make sure that it works. And that is, if you don't know, Tracy Eldridge, ENP.
Hi, friends.
Hey, what's going on? How are you?
I'm good. How are you, my friend?
Look, I'm doing really, really well. So first of all, congratulations on getting your ENP a little while ago. You're not a brand new ENP, but you still have that new car smell.
I do. Back in February of this year, 2021.
So this whole podcast series, as you know, I was looking for the next series. And I had sent a congratulation letter out to all the new ENPs in my area, because I'm the Northeast liaison on the Nina Institute board. And I said, hey, welcome being an ENP, blah, blah, blah. I'm your liaison. If you need anything, here's my contact info. And a couple of people responded, oh, hey, thanks for the note. Really appreciate it. I'm really jazzed. And this is fantastic. And I said, that's it. This is my new podcast series. What makes an ENP tick? True confession.
Yeah.
But
I love it.
Of course you do, because it's my idea. But before I kick it off with like real people, I need to do a pilot series and work out all the bugs. So that's where you come in.
Right. Too bad we're on video, because yeah. Good thing we're on video.
Yeah. You think I planned that?
Which, by the way, it's very nice to actually see you, my friend.
Thank you. It's good to be seen. It wasn't the case a couple of weeks ago.
No, it wasn't. You had a lot of folks cheering you on. I hope you know that.
So I got to tell you, and this will make sense to public safety people. It doesn't make sense to like regular people. Like, I don't get it. So I'm in the room. They come in. Are you okay? I'm fine. Your pulse is through the roof. Blah, blah, blah. Your blood pressure's crashing. I feel fine. Okay. So they gave me a bolus of whatever I was on and to bring my heart rate down. So they canceled the critical care code and blah, blah, blah. They're getting ready to leave. And I said, hey, I'm really getting this burning sensation in my chest. I've never had this before. It's like somebody's sticking a hot poker in there. And I can't breathe. I can get like 2 words out. And I remember the nurse coming back over to me. The next thing I know, I open my eyes and they got an ambu bag on my face and they're doing chest compressions. And I hear, he's back.
And when you told me this was going on, I just thought to myself, I said, he is not done yet. This guy is not done. He's got so much to do. And now you're coming out with a new podcast. See?
So this is the funny part, though. I haven't even gotten to the funny part. So when I open my eyes, she gives a squeeze on the ambu bag. And I felt this huge rush of air into my lungs. And I'm thinking, wow, she's got a good airway.
I don't even know what to say.
I'm thinking about all the times that I did CPR on somebody, and all I did was just create a big belly, right?
That's hilarious.
I'm not sure I ever saved anybody, but
you're like, your placement's good. Keep going. You're winning.
Oh my, yeah, winning. But it was like, wow, that feels good. That's the deepest breath I've taken in a long time. And
That's
then I went out again
awesome.
and I woke back up again. Then I was intubated. And that was like, whoa, this is some serious shit going on.
Yeah, yeah, it was. But so glad to see you, my friend. Like I said, your time here isn't done. You still got a lot of things to do, especially in the 911 world.
Well, thanks very much. So anyway, what I want to talk to you about is being a brand new ENP. Now, you're not shiny new, but you're still new.
Mhm.
What was the excitement? So first of all, why did you do it after the years and years of me begging and prodding and everything else?
Well, obviously, I didn't want to listen to you anymore, but no, seriously. I had wanted to take my ENP for a really long time. I knew way back when I was in the center, and even when I came out of the center, I actually negotiated that as part of my Rapid SOS employment, is that they were going to support me in that endeavor, both time wise and financially, and they held up on that bargain because they see the value too of folks having the most current and up to date certifications. I will tell you, and when I was in my 911 center, I stayed very far away from all of the techie, cold, you know, wicked smart stuff, if you will, when it comes to how the system works. And
All
I
the stuff I
geared,
know, basically.
yes, yeah. But I think the other day I did tell you something you didn't know,
You
so
did.
that was wicked awesome.
Yeah,
Um,
I wrote it down.
but so did I.
Yeah.
But so when I was in my profession as the chief dispatcher, whenever I would go to conferences, I'd go to all the warm and fuzzy classes because I know this is a surprise. I'm a people person. So I want to learn how to better my relationships and deal with people. And I stayed away from the tech stuff. And when I got to work at Rapid SOS, I thought I knew a lot about, a little about a lot. And I realized there was a lot of pieces to the 911 puzzle that I was missing. So over time, I started putting in a little bit of an effort here, a little bit of an effort there. And then I got to a place where I was going to be moving out onto my own with my company On Scene First. And it made sense to have the emergency number professional certification behind my name, because what that does is it shows people that I'm invested in this amazing profession, that I put the time in, that I put the work in, and that I'm not just pretending that I know stuff. I actually know stuff.
It's amazing the immediate respect that you get, especially from other ENPs, because they've been through,
Mm-hmm.
it's that really quick little 10-question quiz that you have to take.
Yeah, okay.
But I think because of the testing process, and you've got to know all this stuff about the industry, about the center, about HR, about everything. People that have been through it go, wow, you really have invested yourself. And you just get this instant level of credibility and respect, which I think that's, you can't put a price tag on that.
No, you can't. And, I have to say, when I would see folks with the ENP after their name at a conference, like I would always have this little twinge of jealousy. Like, I don't think I can do it. I self-doubt a lot anyway because of, past trauma, but deep down, I knew I could pass it. I just didn't think I had it in me. And then when I decided to put in the effort, it was time that I had to put in the effort. And for me, the learning process was a little bit challenging. I always struggled in school with, studying for exams, and it's just my brain works a little bit differently. So I had to put a lot of tools in place for myself to be able to do that. And I've had that wonderful opportunity to help others in their journey to take in the test as well, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But just to see that I'm in a group of folks that are extremely passionate about what they do here is that there's no better feeling.
No, absolutely. And, I'm not going to say the resources are limited on ENP training, but compared to the other technology training stuff that's on the market, it's a fairly narrow scope. Fortunately, the content that's out there is really, really good. But I recorded some videos on MLTS stuff. Go figure.
No.
Yeah, for the training group in Colorado, and I did that years ago before I was on the NIB because I'm not
And they're
allowed.
still being used.
Yeah, and I'm not allowed to record current stuff because I know all the answers. But that's just that's just part of the transparency thing with the NIB. But those I still get emails from people. Oh my God, that was great! Yeah, you really explained it well, and that was cool, and this and that. And I know Mission Critical runs something, but you, brand new ENP, in
Yep.
true Tracy Eldridge fashion. Oh, I have my pin. I know it all now. Let me start training people because that's what you do well. You train people. And then it
Thank
was
you.
3 weeks of living hell on my life because you're like, this is wrong in the book. This is really wrong in the book. This isn't really, there's a conflict here and here and here. Oh my God, I couldn't get you off the phone for like 3 freaking weeks.
That might be a true story. But
But
like I said, my
I'm
brain
glad you
works
did it. I'm glad
differently.
you did it.
And I don't think it was necessarily that it was wrong. It was
No,
just it was I just felt that if it was done in a little bit of a different way, then it would help folks that have some of the struggles that I have. And you took that information back. So much
absolutely.
appreciated.
No, I mean, once a year we sit down and we go through. See, people on the institute board, a lot of folks don't realize this. They say, "Oh, well, you guys don't have to take the test." No, we actually take 2 or 3 tests every single year because the first thing we do is we go through the tests to make
Right.
sure the questions are right, that the stems are correct, that the answer is absolutely correct. As things change, we have to change
Mm-hmm.
answers. We make sure that, and the fun part, the part I like, is writing the distractor answers. So we have to make sure that they're all still valid. And, yeah, some of those try to purposely trick people,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not facetious tricking people. It's making sure you read the question correctly.
Right, right. And it's making sure that you can logically think through the process. And that was one of the things that I was really happy with myself about when I took the exam was I put in the work to take the online practice test
Yep.
because I needed to have an understanding. So I've taken, a state certification for firefighter 1 and 2. I've taken EMS certifications up to the paramedic level. And I know with a lot of those exams, they're challenging.
Sure.
And if you know how to take the test, that is half of the battle, right? Like the way that I look at it is there's two answers that I could probably rule out right away. And then the
Sure.
next two answers, one of them is going to be right. Maybe even both of them are somewhat right, but there's going to be one that's the most right. And to be able to logically, discredit the ones that it is not the answer, that was something that was really helpful for me in taking the test.
That's exactly how I take the test. So, the 9,000 questions that you have to go through, not 9,000, but you've
Felt like
got
it.
it feels like it. What I found, because I did take the test 2 times, once initially and then on my recert, I took the test because I wanted to see what changed.
Yeah.
Plus, I wanted to say I took the test twice and passed. Go figure. The way I find taking those kinds of tests works the best for me is I blast through the questions and check off the ones that I absolutely know without a
Yeah.
shadow of a doubt. Boom, 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 boom. And that knocks off probably half to 2/3 of the questions. Then there's
Hmm.
the ones that I might be a little sure about and the ones I don't really know. And that's when I use your logic. Well, these 2 answers are definitely wrong.
Yep.
One of these 2 is correct. Which one is the most correct?
Yep.
And then, if you think about it, one is clearly more correct than the other. And I've never run out of time on taking the test, running through it 2 times.
Well, speaking of time, one of the things that I thought was awesome, which a lot of people don't realize, and I mentioned it in my study group. So uh, again, in school, there are folks that may have an individualized education plan for any type of learning disability. And it was nice to see that they offer accommodations for somebody who might have a learning disability. And not to encourage everybody, like if you don't need extra time, then you don't have to ask for it. But there's some of us that like to look at the shiny things. And sometimes when you try to concentrate too much, it almost causes a brain blockage, and then a panic sets in, and then that's where that test anxiety comes from. So to be able to know that you can request a little more time to be able to do the exam is really beneficial for some folks.
Oh yeah, no, because people like you and I, and you and I always say you're the female me. Right? It's the way, yeah, because squirrel, that's
Yeah,
just
exactly.
that's just how we are. But I find a lot of people that are really intense in their industry are just exactly like squirrel, exactly
Yes.
like that.
Yep.
I don't know, it's a thing. So I'm glad to see that. Now, did you do an online test or in person?
I did an online test because they were actually not doing in-person tests at the time. And I was also in a cast. So it was just going to be, even if they were, maybe they were just starting to, but I was in a cast, so I couldn't
Remember,
drive.
we were trading ugly foot pictures back then.
Yes, we were. Yes, we were. And if you do take it online and you have a cast on, they are actually going to make you pick up your computer or your camera and show the inside of that cast. So don't think you can get away with anything.
That was an old, I think, out of the movie Spies Like Us, where Dan Aykroyd or Chevy Chase
Yeah.
were taking a CIA test, and they had the answers stuck in their cast in their arm.
Oh
But
yeah, some folks, I mean, they had you cover stuff if there was a pile of papers. Like if you're taking it, remotely, there better be nothing around you at all. Just the computer, and that's it.
so what was the setup to do that remote test?
It was pretty easy, basically. So, when you register, the other thing, as far as the registration goes, is a lot of folks don't pay close attention to the registration application dates. So when I do my study group, I make sure that I set an alarm on my phone to give them ample notice, like a 2-week period where I say, hey, this is the time you need to get all your stuff in to Nina, and make sure that you have all of your points and all of the things, because Nina has a really cool application, like a document for the application itself telling you what you need. And so I'll send that back out about 2 weeks before the deadline, just to say, hey, look, if you're really interested in taking it in this next block, which I think is like October 2nd to the 16th, and that's the current study group we're in now. So I reached out, I said, here's the application handbook, make sure you get it in to be able to be eligible for it. And so once we got that in, you would go online and just kind of pick the test period. And then online, you then could pick when you were going to test it, or when you were going to test. And I will tell you, at the beginning of the year, I had forgotten that I had booked that particular time frame, and then had some things derail me at the beginning of the year, but still wanted to put that focus into doing it. Didn't want to put it off. But once you get onto the program, they assign a proctor to you online, and they walk you through the whole process. And then they take over your computer, in a sense, like to the point where your test is your entire computer screen. So you can't access anything else on your computer, and they check your area to make sure that, you don't got the manual out there, the study guide and things like that. But there was plenty of time. I didn't request the extra time. There was plenty of time for me, but I do want folks to know that is available just in case they need it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I remember going through when we were talking about doing virtual online testing and all of the things that came along with that, because really, I mean, that was really kind of brand new. People weren't
Mm-hmm.
really used to this online testing environment and how it was going to be done. And there was a lot of discussion over the validity, because one thing that the Nina Institute Board always stood behind was the validity of the testing.
Right.
You pass this test, you passed the test. And when the tests were proctored at a remote site, you used to go in, they pretty much used to wand you for the most part. I mean, you were watched closely, and you're like, how do you
Yeah.
do this remotely? I'm so glad that they were able to come up with a solution. PTC, Professional Testing Corporation, is the company that is contracted to administer those tests. And
Yes, it was very well done. I was satisfied with the process and how it all went. It was very easy. It was step by step, and the proctor was right there if I needed them. All I had to do was say hey, and if I needed something, they were right there.
well, and Nina has a person from PTC assigned to us, and she's been there since I've been on the Nina board. And it in talking to her, now I know she does other tests for other companies for other things, but
Mm-hmm.
when we sit down with her, it's like she has this incredible recall for our test. And she's
That's
like,
awesome.
"Here a question that's it," and it's really, I mean, the level of detail that PTC puts behind making that test valid and legitimate and transparent is just, I mean, it impressed the hell out of me when I first
That's
started the
awesome.
process.
That's
And just
awesome.
to know that she's been with us this whole time, because I've been on the board probably, I don't know, eight years or more. So, you know,
Yeah.
that's pretty.
And the other reason, I would say one of the other reasons, not the reason I took it, but it's always good to be challenged by somebody. And while you were nagging me, Gary Bell challenged me. So maybe there was a difference, but no. I saw Gary at the North Carolina conference while he was in his presidency, and he was challenging folks to get their ENP, and every single time I would see somebody be like, hey, I passed, and then they'd tag Gary, and I was in that group
Uh,
of people that he was challenging, and I'm like, oh, there's Corey Bodie. He just got his. And so as each person, got there, that was in that particular group that he challenged, got theirs, I was like, all right, I need to get this done, because I can't be doing what I'm doing and not have the certification. Let's put it that
so,
way.
so when you finished the online test, did you get immediate feedback, pass, fail?
Yep, I got basically a quick little, you passed. However, this may not be, we got to go back and check and just double check. And it wasn't a long time before I got the results. And I was very, very, very proud of myself. It was a very hard test. And you have to put in the work. If you've been in this industry for a long time, there's a high likelihood that there are places where you are weaker than others.
So,
And by taking the online practice test, it will help you understand where your weaknesses are. Now, even though I worked for a technology company for 4.5 years, the technology piece was still where I was a little weaker than the operations and the human resources part of it. But the other thing I like about the ENP exam is that you have to recertify in 5 years. So that means you actually have to know what's, going on in the industry. It almost forces you to stay compliant in the knowledge that you have versus complacent, I
well,
guess.
things change, right? So we
Hmm.
just went through, every year we go through efforts to go through the tests, go through
Yep.
the book of knowledge, go through the practice tests, and make all of that stuff match up. And that's a lot of what you brought to my attention. Oh, there's a discrepancy between the
Yeah.
two. And that's good stuff, because we fix that every single year as it comes up. They change a standard. Nina went through and renumbered all of their standards, right? From the old stuff to a new numbering format. All of
Yeah.
that had to be edited through.
Or on the 50th anniversary of 911, the president signs a new law into effect that really affects 911. I don't know. There's that.
Gee, what is that law?
Carrie's law.
Oh,
Yeah. You know
that's
about that law,
I'm
right?
gonna have to look that up. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, definitely.
So, yeah, we added stuff in there in Carrie's Law, Ray Baum's Act.
Yeah.
I went through
Device-based hybrid location or device-based location.
that, got in there to some degree and that'll be in there more in the next
Of
edit.
course.
But
Of
yeah,
course. And I will tell you, when I started with Rapid SOS, that was not even on the radar.
Yep.
Like everybody was like, no, no, no. And to be able to see that in a test and know that I had a hand in like beating that drum very loudly, like
Sure.
this can work. And, I remember being with Reinhard Eckel at a couple of places and folks are just like, this is not going to work. We're going with the NIAD. And I'm like, okay.
I'm gonna just shut up on that because you're gonna get me in trouble.
I'm
You
not
start
getting you
bringing
in
up the
trouble.
NIAD, but
No, no, no.
I got to wave my finger at somebody pretty high level in the FCC who said, "Told you so." Well, anyway, that's all I'm gonna say.
No, and the way I look at it, Fletch, you know me. I'm going to give everybody an opportunity after I beat you up. Like I got to beat you up. I got to tell you where it's not going to work. I got to tell you how I feel, and prove me wrong. Like I want you to prove me wrong, and to be able to see that, even just 4 years later, that device-based location got into this exam. That's a huge accomplishment for this industry.
I think so. I think so. I
Yeah.
mean, and this is a challenge, right? I mean, you've got to, if you're going to have an exhaustive test like this, you have to be current. And it's a fine balance. Like we're in the middle of this transition from legacy E911 into next gen
Yep.
911. And every year a little more next gen stuff creeps in. This year there was a lot of stuff we went through and we just got rid of the legacy stuff because
Yep.
we passed the tipping point, right?
Yep.
Should we really talk about camera trunks? Well, they are still there. They're still being used, but they're very
Yep.
quickly going away. So, that gets a lot of discussion points. I think it's good that people know that and understand it because I think it helps them compare to the new technologies.
Right.
And maybe understanding the old technology as a fundamental helps you understand the new technologies and the improvements.
Yeah, I think to an extent, having that basic knowledge. I always joke, like, what are the 911 centers that have E911 in their title? Like, the E911, Acme E911 agency. I'm like, oh, that's going to change to emergency 911 or something. Because I mean, we're with next generation now. It's here. We're not talking about it anymore. There's so many aspects that are here. So that's where our focus really needs to be. So folks have an understanding of it. And that's why I love this test, because it is reviewed, and the things that are important today are what you're going to see on that exam.
Yep. And I mean, we did a total global search and replace on PSAP and changed it to ECC, except for the first reference to it. We said
Yeah.
PSAP/ECC, and then we used
Yeah.
ECC the rest of the way through because that's the new term. So there's a lot of little stupid things. Well, not stupid, but little what seemingly might be insignificant things, but to a new person coming in at some point in time, maybe not today, but in 5-10 years from now, people are going to go, PSAP? What the hell's a PSAP?
Right. You're 100% right. And, there are folks that are still going to say that for a while, that are in the industry now. And you have to have those terms. You have to, you can't erase history.
No.
And
I wish you could.
Yeah, parts of it.
I would like to erase a nice chunk I've got lined up. I'd like to erase, but ain't gonna happen.
No, it's really cool. And, there are folks that ask me, well, what were you thinking starting a study group? Like, where do you have the time? So yes, my plate is full. There's a lot of things that I do. And no, I don't make money off of this, but what it does, it's twofold. First and foremost, it allows me to build connections with 911 professionals across the country. I have already met so many amazing people and built relationships just because these folks have the same passion and dedication to the industry that I do. On the second part of it, the more time I put into teaching things, the more I learn. So it's not like I just throw, definitions up on a screen and read them verbatim. I try to find examples. That's the way that I teach. So to be able to put together a study group, it allows me to stay current and then learn about things that maybe I'm not so strong at. And I give them the opportunity to, they don't have to be on for the session. I share the PDF with them. I share the YouTube link with them. I upload the recording. But I know the industry, and I know that sometimes they need that little push. So the more I post about it, the more I post the study group. I mean, my first study group, I think it was like 150 for the summer exam. I had about 150 folks, and this one I have almost 300 registered. So
Oh my
what is
God.
that telling you?
Are you serious?
Yep, almost 300 people have joined for the fall test.
Wow.
Now, maybe they won't take it for the fall, but they're getting the information that they need now. And then I encourage them, if you're not taking it in the fall, take it now, get the information. Because every time I do a study group, which I'll do another one, it'll probably be for the spring exam, to give myself just a little bit of a break, because I've done 2 back-to-back ones. But if they're going to take it, take the one now, get the information. But each one I do, it's just going to get better and better, because I'm going to be more confident in the information. I'm going to have a better understanding, connecting with folks after they took it, which areas should we focus on? So yeah, it's getting better and better. And I get to meet amazing people. And that's why I like it the most.
And you don't charge?
No. And, one of the things is, nobody's charging for an ENP study group, and it's not like I need this particular thing to make money off of. And I know that folks need it. And I can tell you that there are a lot of folks out there that are footing the bill for this exam themselves.
Right.
So, if their agency doesn't support them, that's sad, because it benefits them, but I understand budgets. But if you're a director and you're listening to this and you have the opportunity, to fund this, or maybe even 1 or 2 folks a year, encourage them to go for it. Right. And that goes into that whole leadership thing that I'm really adamant about too, is empower your people to do the best they can. And by giving them the opportunity to take this exam, that's just one more feather in their cap.
One of the coolest things I get to do as a member of the Nina Institute board for the Northeast is I get to choose the scholarship winner for my region every year. And
nice.
It's the coolest thing to do, and it's the thing I hate the most at the same time.
Right.
Because I sit here and I read 15, 20 applications that are just tearjerker applications, right? And I mean, you've got single mothers who are taking care of kids, and you've got every tragedy that you can possibly imagine. And it's people who need this scholarship to advance their career and be somebody. And while I love to pick someone, I hate picking just one person.
Right. And that's something that I would like to do in the future. So if anybody wants to sponsor, a scholarship through my study group, I'm more than willing to accept it for these folks. I remember in one of the podcasts I recently did, because as you know, I have a podcast too. And I did an episode with Jim Lake from Charleston County, South Carolina. And I had asked him, if somebody was going to get their ENP, but they weren't sure, like, what would you say to them? And he said, it's easy. He says, when I was getting ready to take over this 911 center, it literally came down to me and somebody else who didn't have it.
Wow.
So when somebody says, well, why are you doing it? Like what's the benefit? Well, number one, you get to learn your industry, which you should always be learning. And number two, if you're looking to advance your career, those 3 letters behind your name might be the difference between you and your dream job.
Yep. No, absolutely. And I don't want to spoil this for the future, but one of the stories for one of the ENPs that I'm going to be interviewing, this person was a call taker for years, 13 years or something like that. They then, during that time, they had the ability to go out and get all of the testing.
Yeah.
And they got all of their certifications, their various certifications, but they took the ENP and they failed.
Mhm.
and they didn't have an opportunity to retake it. And for years and years and years, it bothered this person that they failed the ENP exam. And now they're a director
Wow.
of an agency, and their executive director, I guess, came in and said, "I want everybody to get their ENPs," and sent this person back out to get their ENP, and now she got it.
Awesome.
And I'm like, oh, what a cool story of that. But
It is a cool story.
she felt like she was missing something in her
Mhm.
life. All those years that, she took that test and she didn't make it, and it just drove her crazy deep down inside. I'm like, that's the drive and passion that this industry produces. It's amazing.
And a lot of folks go into consulting after, the end of their tenure in the 911 center. So why not have that credibility that, again, says, like, you have a drive and passion for your industry, right? It's almost like being an MD of 911, right?
Yeah, well, and if you want to know all of the certifications that you possibly can get, just look up Jeremy DeMar, because I think he's got every
That
title after his name. And
I am pretty sure you are correct.
you beat him on this podcast series.
I did, and I can't wait to tell him. Can't wait to tell him, because he beat me first on the last one, and
Yeah.
he never let me live it down. So yeah, there's
That's right.
that.
You've been on several podcasts of mine now.
I have.
And let me see, you've got a podcast on Seed First?
I do. On Scene First with Tracy Eldridge.
Yeah, and have I been on that one?
Yes, you have.
Have I?
Yes. Yes, you have.
How many
You were like
times?
I don't know, you were like number 4. But we will be recording some stuff again, because we got a thing or two to tell the 911 industry, right? Like you and I, we got some serious intel that we got to share with folks.
Okay,
So,
okay.
which
No spoiler alerts, but yeah,
no spoiler alert.
you
No
and I
spoiler
were
alert.
scheming the other day, and it was
We were.
getting a little scary. I love hanging out with you. I swear to God. It's funny because you and I call each other sister, brother.
Yeah.
And you had when I was having my last incident, you had
Oh
put some
yes.
updates out, and as, quote, my sister. So a friend of mine over in England, who I've met one time, read that, and he produced this wonderful video about.
Oh, it was
Oh, it's a
amazing.
tearjerker, right? And he called you my sister, his sister that I didn't even know he had.
Well, it was funny because, if anybody wants to know what we're talking about, they can go to either one of our social media, On Scene First, your LinkedIn, my LinkedIn, because they definitely shared it. And I thought it was really important, because you are such a staple in the 911 industry, and a lot of times our families, they know that we're kind of involved, to an extent, but
Yeah.
I don't think my husband would know how to reach the 911 industry.
Right.
I think he would maybe call my best friend Mike, or whatever, and that's one thing. But I just remember saying, like, I asked your permission to, and I said, hey, I'd like to put something out. One, because we have a lot of prayer warriors out there, but
Yep.
the networking in this profession is profound. And so as I'm putting out the information and the updates, like, everybody's commenting, they're messaging me, how's Fletch? And somebody else tagged me in that video. And no, actually the author of the guy that made the video, and he tagged me in it, and he says, I think this guy.
Yep.
But it didn't click. So I didn't click that he was the person that put up the video. And then I start watching it, and I'm just listening, and I'm like, oh, I wonder who the sister is. Like, I don't even know it's about you at this point, until and then he says, and his sister recently posted, and I'm like, oh, I wonder who the sister is. Like, how would I know this person? And then all of a sudden he pops up your face and your voice. And I was like, and the tears just started. And then I remember I was watching it with my husband, and I was like, it's me. He's talking about me as Fletch's sister. And it was just this, like, really feel good moment. And it it just reiterates the importance of this profession and the networking. I mean, you and I met, we've talked about this before. You and I met in one of my sessions at a national conference. I had never met you before, but I was probably one of the first folks to publicly or nationally, other than you, of course, speak on Carey's Law.
Yep.
And I think when you saw that come up, you were like, oh, whoa, wait a minute. Who is this girl from Massachusetts?
I didn't say girl. I didn't say girl. I'll tell you that. I'll be honest with you there. I did not use the G word.
You're like, who's this lady? And what is she doing talking
Didn't
about
use
this?
lady either. Why you keep guessing, but
No, I'm pretty confident I know what you use. But nonetheless, it built a great working relationship, friendship. I got to know Hank and DJ and, all these folks. And it just drives the point home of the connections, the networking. And when you put 110% into the job that you love, it doesn't become work. It doesn't. Like, I don't work. I'm busy a lot, but it's not work to me. It is truly a passion that is second to none, for sure.
Don't tell your boss you don't work. Oh, wait, that's you.
Yes, it is me. That's weird too, right?
What was the hardest part of the test? What scared you the most going in, and what ended up being the hardest part of the test? To get back to the reason of this podcast.
Yeah, well, I mean, us squirrels, right? So honestly, not material wise first. So the material wise, I think the material was fair. I think that it's very important to know your acronyms and abbreviations for things, because there are a lot of questions that rely on that. So if somebody is taking it, so that I spent a lot of time learning a lot of the acronyms, and I did that through Quizlet. So when I first entertained the thought of taking the ENP exam, somebody had mentioned Quizlet, little flashcard. It's an app. You can put it on your computer. I put it on my iPad. I had it on my phone. If I was, waiting for an oil change or whatever, I'd buzz through some of that. When I first was getting ready to take the exam, or not take it, but, the 12 times I was going to study for it before I actually did, I jump on there and I'd go through. There were only a few sets of flashcards there. When you go onto Quizlet now, hundreds of people are taking the time to create flashcards in different ways. So some of them are just like, oh, here's a set of 300 cards with definitions and acronyms, or here's a specific section on telecom, and here's legislation.
So there's that many on the ENP test.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So if you go into Quizlet, and I don't know, you can just Google Quizlet, but when you go up into the search bar, just type in capital ENP and you'll just see lots and lots and lots.
Wow.
And the best part about that app is, if I'm doing a set of the flashcards, it'll send it to me in various ways. It'll be like a multiple choice, a definition. It'll give me the word and I have to know the definition. And then if I get it, I check off, yes, I got it. Or if I didn't, it keeps, putting it in front of me in different ways until I get it. And for me, and the way that my brain learns, that was extremely beneficial. The online exam practice test was beneficial because I got to see what the questions are going to look like.
Sure.
And then I got to go, oh, wait a minute, there's a couple of topics here that I'm not so good at. So I need to go back and put more time in.
Which one did you struggle with out of all the different? I struggle with believe it or not, I struggle with the legislation.
The legislation is challenging because there are many that cross over each other.
Yep.
And they cross over and they sound similar, but then they're really not. And then there's a couple that are just like, what the heck does this have to do with 911? But then as you dig deeper.
But they ask you dates on some of those. And it was one thing I always question. It's like, why do I need to know the date? I just need to know it exists.
Right. Right. But I think the date in some of them is actually part of the title.
Yeah, it could be.
Right. So if that's the case, then that's it. But going back to the question.
When was the War of 1812?
Yeah. But going back to where was the hardest part was was making the time to do this for myself. And I know 100% we have so many professionals out there that just burn the candle at both ends, in the middle, 3/4 of the way, like, and they just have so many irons in the fire. And I think if this is something that you want to do, you have to disconnect from a few things and really give it the time, even if it's just a 6-month period of time, that you take a few irons out and focus on this. You will be truly glad that you did it.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I'm so glad that I had you on the pilot for this, because this is going to give me a great basis of what to talk about with other people. And,
well, duh, because I'm amazing.
You actually are. You know what? I'll agree with you. You are amazing. I really appreciate your dedication to the industry as a professional, and as a just relentless, I gotta get it completely right. It almost drives me nuts, but that's good. You don't settle for anything less than perfection,
No.
and I think that's a great trait. And you're an inspirational person. I look. Oh God, can't believe I'm saying this on a recorded session. I actually look up to you.
Oh, what? Oh my God. I'm getting
God.
that on a t-shirt. I'm
Yeah.
getting a t-shirt. Fletch looks up to me.
No,
And then
I
I'm just
do.
gonna have your
I
glasses
do.
looking up.
I have I have this incredible level of admiration for what you do and what you do for
Right
the
back at you,
industry.
my friend.
But that, and thanks for doing this. This, I
Yeah.
think, has been very insightful and educational, and I think this, NG911 Future Makers was cool because you could see the leaders and the shakers in the industry and where things were going, and you know, gave somebody who's in the business a
Mhm.
wider view. And this, I think, goes even further to fostering our future in 911,
I
because
agree.
it's really about inspiring the leaders of tomorrow. These are
I
the people
agree.
that'll be pushing our wheelchairs. We we need to make sure that we get the right ones.
They're like, okay, lady, or whatever you want to call me. It's time for you to move on. Let somebody else.
I wasn't calling you lady. Trust
I
me.
know. I got it. I got it.
Completely different letter of the alphabet. Right up at the beginning.
I'm aware. I'm aware.
You know it's out of love.
I do. I do. But
Yeah.
thank you so much for having me on, my friend. And when you were talking about it the other day, it's always, you are one of those folks that you say the words of something that you want to do. And I'm really envious, because there's a lot of things going on up in my head that I want to execute. And sometimes, my intent is good, but I fail to execute. So, this was something you were talking about last week. You flicked a switch. Here we are recording it. And, mad props to you for being able to execute things that that the industry needs. So thank you for all your support, my friend.
Well, you make it sound like it was quick and easy, but I'll tell you, I've been thinking about this for the past several months,
Yeah.
and what to do and what to do it about and how to approach it. And what really lit the final fire was all of the emails that I got back from the new batch of ENPs just out of the Northeast. And I'm like, I got to reach out to all these people. These stories are incredible. Everybody had a story. And I want
And
other
that's
people
awesome.
I want other people to hear that, because I want the single mother who's taking care of 3 kids and working 20-hour shifts and overtime all over the place to see you're not alone. Other people do it. You can get through it, and there's support mechanisms out there to help you get through it.
Mhm.
So, have at it.
Go get it.
Go get it. So,
Go get it.
anyway, Tracy, thank you so much. It's an honor for me to have you as the first inaugurable, inaugurable,
You're
whatever.
not having a stroke now, are you? Jeez.
I'm fine. It's a
Put
brain
your arms
aneurysm.
out.
My brain aneurysm kicking back in.
Put your arms out. Close your eyes.
Yeah. Yeah, I went in for an MRI yesterday. He's like, what do you got in your body? I'm like, you got a notepad? I'll give you a list. What surgeries have you had in the past 6 years? Well, let's start here and work our way down.
Shenanigans. Well, like I said, I'm glad you're getting healthy. You look great, for somebody who died a couple weeks ago. And I laugh, like people look at me like, she's laughing. No, seriously. Like I'm trying to be serious, but you and I joke about a lot of things.
It's so cool to die and come back.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to recommend that everybody be doing it, but it's.
Everybody's got to die one day, but if you get to do it and come back, it's really cool. And I've done it in a couple of times.
I was just going to say, isn't this like your second or third time? Are you a cat?
Well, I coded 3 times in the hospital. So
yeah, you need to stop doing that. Like I said, you got a lot of work to do. So I knew I hit family status when I got a call from your wife. I'm like, all right, cool.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, again, that thing, she wouldn't know who to call.
She wouldn't.
So I'm like,
that's
called from my deathbed. Called Tracy Eldridge.
And there is truth to that, because I'm like, you need to give somebody in your family my phone number just in case. He's like, my wife already has your number.
Absolutely. No, but you are 100% correct. Our families aren't part of our work families necessarily.
Right.
Sometimes they are.
Sometimes they are, but not always.
Not in my case.
Nope.
So. But
all right,
and your whole family's in public safety. I'm so proud of you.
They are.
Got to plug your daughter.
She's doing amazing. An 18-year-old girl that is a welder, a phenomenal welder. She just got on our local fire department. She's already been going on calls. She already had a head injury, which so we got that out of the way. But she's doing much better now. But she too has it. She's very similar to me in the things that she really loves. She's gonna give it everything that she has. We don't have the same passions, very similar, but not always the same. But I hope that I had the opportunity to teach her to don't half-ass things. Just give it everything that you have.
So now when there's a working structure fire and you got to go inside, only a third of your family can respond.
Well, here's how it's going to roll. Like I already can envision this. Structure fire, if we all respond, I'm staying out with the ambulance and she's going in right next to her dad. I am not stopping that one. I wouldn't even be able to. I wouldn't be able to stop that chemistry. So
amazing.
Awesome.
All right. Well, listen, thanks again, Trace. It's always a pleasure. Can't wait till I see you next. I'm going to see you up in Vermont.
Yes, you are. Are you coming?
Yeah, I'm coming up for that.
Yay!
Awesome. We're sponsoring Hank up there. I gotta see
you are sponsoring Hank, and since you just said it, where the APCO Atlantic chapter is doing a conference in Vermont. So check out our website, and I had the honor with Ann Camaro to put together the program for the training session. So we have a lot of amazing folks. Hank being the keynote speaker, and looking forward to it. Seeing everybody up in the mountains.
Hank is a keynote. I'm telling you, he's come a long way.
He is.
8 years ago, but hey, how y'all doing? I'm Hank. Now he just captivates people. It's amazing.
He does.
Again, going off on a squirrel thing. I've said goodbye 3 times.
We are. That's how we do it. But you know what? People, they're going to listen because they don't know what the heck's going to come out of our mouths next. I mean, we can talk about whatever.
Stop it.
You stop it.
Stop it right there. All right, sweetheart. Thank you very much. Love you. Take care.
Love you too. Be good.
All right. Behave. Bye-bye. Well, that wraps up this episode of Off the Cuff. Confessions of an ENP. I'm Mark Fletcher, ENP, and I'm the Vice President of Public Safety Solutions at 911 Inform. Off the Cuff is sponsored by 911 Inform, delivering next-generation 911 solutions to the enterprise today and making every second count. Visit them on the web at 911inform.com. Remember, you can follow me on Twitter at Fletch911. Check out all my blogs and podcasts at Fletch.tv. And be sure to like and subscribe below. That way you'll be immediately notified whenever a new podcast is published. Thanks so much for listening. If you're in public safety, thanks for what you do. Take care and have a great day.